What I said was, hi, good afternoon, my name is Al. I use sign language right now. That's the language you use when you want to communicate with someone who's deaf. So let me tell you what this is all about. Why does our organization, Lemon Tree Hotels, believe in inclusion? Why do we hire people with disability? And why am I here today? To tell each and every one of you that it is so easy to do this in your organization. There are a few reasons. The talent pool you get access to, the level of creativity they bring to the table, the kind of productivity, she mentioned it earlier, as good as or better than the other colleagues. The frame of reference changes for everybody in our team. There is an engagement at a new level, not just for those who come in with disability, but the entire employee base. They believe in the company in a very different way. And the most beautiful of all, it's about real life. Let me show you how this works. When I talk about talent pool, what you see here right now is a team of people that includes deaf colleagues, people with Down syndrome, people with physical handicap, people without disability, those who've come from a hotel school, those who've come from maybe class 8 of education. So there is actually a mix in this talent pool, and we can bring them into our organization and we can train them in a way that they perform the jobs that they do every day. They are able to perform. So how we go beyond the disability and look at the ability by accessing this talent pool. Creativity. Do you know if somebody does not have one of their senses working the way it works for all of us? Suppose that person is deaf. Suppose that person can't see. Maybe that person has autism. They will look at life every day. They negotiate life every day with this aspect being there with them. And they find solutions which are very different. So if you look at what we see here, my colleague who's deaf will look at the whole process of his work differently and come up with some processes that can actually change the way we do business. And also the creativity of the other kind, the softer skills. That also these people bring in abundance. Productivity. I think for organizations, the big question to do with disability would be, but can they do their work? Will they be productive? Will it add to our top line? Let me clarify this. Productivity is one of the strongest points that they have because they're trying to be very eager and they want to prove that they can work as much as anybody else and they can learn as much as anybody else. So whether it's the level of cleanliness, the way in which the sweeping takes place, or whether it's the way in which some amenities are being placed, and whether you're deaf or whether you're autistic, you would actually do this so precisely that organizations today must think about what their field is all about and their industry is all about and see how these people who are specially abled can work in their industry. Frame of reference. I find this the most beautiful thought. We are looking at a photograph of a person who's deaf, the person in the orange shirt, and a person who's a chef and he's fully able, he doesn't have any disability. The frame of reference is changing for the chef, for the person without disability. When he's engaging with his team members, he has to look at life differently. He has to look at life from their eyes. And then he will work his whole daily schedule around that. And it's amazing what it changes in you when you have to change your frame of reference. Engagement. There is no organization across the globe that does not focus on employee engagement. It's one of the highest scores that you would go after for your organization. Here's the beauty of what takes place in an inclusive company. What happens is the sense of fulfillment is of a new order. And if you look at the team here in this photograph, you've got people who are deaf, you've got people with a physical handicap, and you've got the managers who come from typical hotel school, fully educated, fully trained, but for them, having these team members changes their sense of fulfillment and their engagement at our company and hence at any company. And then there's engagement, as you can see. Real life. Now, what is this all about? Disability exists in the world. It exists in society. It is there in every country that we may be in. It is there in every part of our own country. So if out there are marathons going on or people are going on a picnic and that includes somebody who's got Down syndrome or an intellectual disability or autism, then hey, why not our company? Why not your company? You know, the United Nations says that 1 in every 7 people has disability. This could be physical, this could be intellectual, or this could be a learning difficulty, but something that makes them different, or as we say, differently abled. I spoke about talent pool. Imagine a world where people with disability could be trained depending on their own skills, because we are all different from each other, either for a job which involves them working individually at a workstation, like customer service or a call center, voice data, or simply data entry or graphic design. Or imagine another set of areas of work where you have to be skilled to a higher degree, which means you need education, you need the skilling to take place, like finance, technology, human resource, sales, food production, where you're talking about the quality level of a chef. It is actually feasible to skill people with disability, depending on their education, into any one of these areas. So it's possible for any organization out there to actually go for inclusion. Creativity. I was talking about problem solving. Can you imagine somebody who's autistic and believes in very systematic processes and who's very, very structured in the way he works? Can you imagine the discipline he can bring to a service organization such as a hotel company, an airline, a retail store, a bank, where processes are central to that, the way they do business? And imagine the clarity this person can bring. I think they'll solve problems in a way that none of us in this room probably can. The other area which I find they shine is their willpower. You know, they've not been given a chance. People of disability are often excluded right from their homes. Forget about any public place. Starting from their own homes, it's a taboo, especially in India. And they are excluded from school, from maybe going to their neighbor's children's party, or maybe going to a picnic, maybe going for a movie. How hard would it be for them to go to a mall or a multiplex and see a movie? Not very easy. Given that background, when they arrive at a place of work and someone has faith in them, their willpower is of another order. So, no matter how difficult the circumstances of your organization, no matter how much the stress, these guys won't give up. They'll keep at it and they'll keep working. They like to help others, they actually believe in that. They make great team players. You know, if you've been excluded your whole life, think about it. Did you get left out somewhere? Maybe in your school, maybe out of a sport, maybe out of a debating club, maybe when you went to engineering college, maybe you were sort of put aside with some geeks or something, or maybe in your family you weren't, I don't know, hip enough, rich enough, anything. That feeling when you get excluded. So therefore, when you come into a team where the team is welcoming you, you are the first person to say, I'm ready to play for this team. That sense we cannot generate through training. It actually exists inside them. The other one, they like to emulate. They like to mimic behavior. So if your manager or your supervisor is the kind of person who's a great leader, if your organization has a great culture, people with disability will start mimicking that because that's the exposure they're getting. So you can actually build a better, more powerful organization. Imagine that. Productivity. The focus they come with is so clear. They know that this is the number of hours I have, these are the tasks I have to do, these are the numbers I have to deliver. They will do work like anyone else. There's no soft side to this story, there's no charity to this story. It's business as usual. And their focus is very, very clear. Their energy levels oftentimes are higher. It depends on the disability, because some physical disabilities don't allow you to be so energetic. And their strength. You know, our industry is one where stress and peak hours and things can become a bit difficult. There are many businesses like this. So in that situation, to have strength to sort of make it through that whole stressful time is something we would like in our employees. It adds to the productivity. Frame of reference. You put yourself into the other person's shoes. How often in a day do we do that? Just give me a show of hands. Do you put yourself into somebody else's shoes? Does it happen? Sometimes it does. It actually does. Then, from an organizational perspective, you have understood that person's frame of reference, and now you will give them inputs and you will train them in the way that they can learn best. And imagine how it will empower them. It's quite beautiful. Engagement. This one, I think, will score the highest with the corporate sector, and that's what really makes this whole thing deliver as a business model. If the employees of the company, suppose you have 10% employees who are disabled like we do, that means the remaining 90% are without disability. But if 100% of these employees are able to be satisfied with their daily life at work and they feel proud that they're in an inclusive organization, you're home, because these folks will work with you for 2 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, you don't know. And I'm going way beyond disability. I'm talking about everybody else in the organization. Why? Because they know that they are a teacher. They are actually teaching these people who are coming into the workplace. They are acting as their guides. And most amazingly, in so many situations, they are actually the student. Because that person who's differently able brings something to the table which they didn't even know. And they get to learn from them. The role gets reversed. And hence, engagement rises. Real life. Now, you know, it's about how our society is. If our society has diversity, if our society has people with all different kinds of ability and also different disability, then why would our organization become a little cocoon? It should also represent a slice of society. And I'd like you to see that word down there. Disability could actually happen to anyone. Anyone in this room, anyone in the TEDx audience, it could happen to anyone or in their families, any which way. What do I mean? You could have a person who's autistic in your family. You could have a person who has Down syndrome. There could be someone with intellectual or developmental disability. There could be someone with a partial physical handicap. Maybe your family has a wheelchair user. Maybe your family has someone who uses crutches. But should they be excluded? I would say the answer is no. So I'd like you to just picture your family for a second and imagine if any one of them had disability, would you want inclusion or not? Thank you.